What if I told you that the world you know, the countries you see on every globe, the borders you learned in school, none of it was ever as simple as it looked? For centuries, the empires that ruled us, the explorers who braved the unknown, and even the kings who claimed the right to rule, all placed their faith in one thing: maps. But what if those maps were lying? What if the very paper that shaped our world was actually a tool for cunning, deception, and empire building on a scale most of us can barely imagine? Let's step back in time, to a world before satellites, Google Earth, or even reliable compasses. Imagine a monarch poring over a parchment map, tracing his finger along a jagged coastline, making decisions that would send armies to war or open new continents for conquest. What he didn't know, what almost no one knew, was that the lines on that map might have been drawn not by explorers, but by master manipulators. Secret cartographers working in candlelit rooms, wielding ink and ambition instead of swords and ships. Maps are supposed to be windows to the world, but what if they were actually mirrors, reflecting the hopes, fears, and lies of the people who made them? Today on History Owl, we're diving into the hidden history of secret maps. The forgeries, the propaganda, the bold cartographic lies that changed the fate of empires, and the world we live in. Let's start in the year 1375, in the bustling court of Peter of Castile, where a mysterious document lands on the king's desk. It's the Catalan Atlas, a masterpiece of medieval cartography. But this was no ordinary map. It was a power play, a map designed not just to describe the world, but to shape it. The Catalan Atlas showed Africa's rivers, Asia's fabled lands of gold, even the mythical Christian king Prester John. Some of it was based on reports from traders and travelers. Other parts? Pure invention. Why? Because maps like these weren't just about getting from point A to point B. They were about showing who controlled the truth. Think about it. If you could draw the world, you could own it. You could claim distant lands, justify invasions, or scare your enemies with monsters lurking at the edge of the known. The Catalan Atlas wasn't just a map, it was a blueprint for ambition. Who actually made it? Historians still argue. Some say a Jewish cartographer named Abraham Cresques, working in secrecy, hiding his identity because of religious persecution. Others believe entire teams collaborated, blending fact and fiction to please powerful patrons. The truth is lost to time, but the consequences were enormous. Kings took the atlas as gospel. Armies marched. Ships set sail for imaginary riches. Fast forward to the age of exploration. The stakes are even higher. In 1507, a German cartographer named Martin Waldseemüller publishes a map that does something wild. It labels a continent, America. Why? Because Waldseemüller believed Amerigo Vespucci, not Columbus, had discovered the New World. With a single word, a single flourish of ink, he rewrote history. And yet, this wasn't just a mistake. It was a calculated move, based on letters that might have been forged or exaggerated. Vespucci's accounts were controversial, but Waldseemüller's map made them real. Suddenly, every European power wanted a piece of America, whatever that actually meant. And here's the twist. Waldseemüller later realized his error, but the name stuck. That's the power of maps. Once an idea is drawn, it's almost impossible to erase. But the real games began when empires realized maps could be weapons. Enter the Portuguese. In the 16th century, Portugal had a secret, literally. They kept their nautical charts, called portolan charts, under lock and key. To steal or even copy one was a crime punishable by death. These weren't just maps, they were the keys to the world's most profitable trade routes. The Portuguese Empire controlled the flow of gold, spices, and slaves across the oceans, and they did it by hoarding the truth. But secrets never stay hidden forever. Rival empires sent spies to Lisbon, bribing cartographers and smuggling stolen maps back to England, Spain, and the Netherlands. Sometimes these stolen charts were deliberately altered, showing fake islands, shifting coastlines, or even entire phantom continents. Why? To mislead enemy ships, to claim uncharted land, or simply to confuse the competition. Picture a fleet of Spanish galleons sailing straight into a dead end, chasing a treasure island that never existed, all because of a clever cartographer's lie. And then there's the big one, the Piri Reis map. Istanbul, 1513. An Ottoman admiral named Piri Reis compiles a world map from dozens of secret sources. Some say he even had access to lost maps from ancient Alexandria. The Piri-Reis map shows parts of South America, Africa, even a stretch of coastline bizarrely similar to Antarctica, centuries before anyone officially mapped it. Conspiracy theories swirled to this day. Was it evidence of lost civilizations? Alien contact? Or just another example of how maps can warp reality, hinting at mysteries that may never be solved? But sometimes, the lies weren't just about new lands, they were about erasing the old. Take the case of the terra nullius maps of Australia. When British colonists arrived, they brought maps that showed an empty continent, no cities, no kingdoms, just blank space waiting to be claimed. The reality? Indigenous Australians had lived there for over 60,000 years. Their lands were mapped, named, and managed in ways the British refused to recognize. By declaring the land terra nullius, or nobody's land, colonizers justified taking everything. This wasn't just a cartographic oversight, it was a deliberate act of erasure, written in ink and blood. The story repeats across the globe. In Africa, European powers carved up entire continents at the Berlin Conference of 1884–85, without ever setting foot in the interior. They drew straight lines through jungles and deserts, splitting tribes and families, inventing countries that had never existed. The result? Decades of conflict, civil wars, and borders that still spark violence today. All because of maps drawn in secret, in rooms thousands of miles away. But the most audacious cartographic deception might belong to the Soviets. During the Cold War, the USSR deliberately falsified their own maps, sometimes shifting entire cities, erasing military bases, or moving rivers on paper. Why? To confuse potential invaders, to protect secrets, and to control information inside their own country. Soviet citizens grew up trusting maps that were, at best, creative fiction. Foreign spies who managed to steal a map from Moscow often found it worse than useless. And yet, sometimes the lies turned into reality. In North America, the legend of the Northwest Passage, a fabled sea route through the Arctic, persisted for centuries. Maps showed a clear blue channel, inviting explorers to risk everything in search of a shortcut to Asia. Expedition after expedition ended in disaster, swallowed by ice and starvation. But because the maps said it was possible, men kept trying. In a weird twist, global warming is now opening up a version of the Northwest Passage. The lie, in a way, is finally coming true. Let's get personal for a second. Have you ever wondered why Greenland looks bigger than Africa on a world map? It's not just an optical illusion. It's the legacy of the Mercator projection, invented in 1569 by Gerardus Mercator. His map was great for sailors but terrible for showing the real size of continents. Europe and North America look huge, Africa and South America look tiny. Was it a conspiracy? Probably not. But over the centuries, that distortion shaped how people saw the world, and themselves. Empires literally put themselves at the center of the map, making their land look larger, more important, more powerful. And sometimes, map lies are just weird. In the 19th century, California was famously depicted as an island, floating off the coast of North America. How did this happen? Early Spanish explorers misunderstood local geography, and their mistake got copied, then recopied, until whole generations believed in an island that never existed. People drew detailed maps, planned expeditions, even wrote stories about the independent Kingdom of California. It took nearly a century for the error to be corrected. But the biggest lie of all? The idea that maps are ever truly objective. Every map is a choice. What to include, what to leave out, which direction is up, what to name a river, a city, a mountain. Even today, political disputes play out on maps. Think of the endless arguments over Crimea, Taiwan, or the borders of Israel and Palestine. Sometimes, the fight isn't over land, but over what the map says. Whoever controls the map, controls the narrative. And some maps were designed as pure propaganda. During World War II, both the Allies and Axis powers pumped out maps covered in lurid colors and dramatic arrows, showing their enemies as blood-red monsters devouring Europe or Asia. British newspapers published maps showing the Hun menace creeping across the continent. Nazi mapmakers drew plans for a Europe remade in their image, with borders erased and entire nations wiped off the page. These weren't just battle plans, they were weapons aimed at the mind. But sometimes, the most dangerous maps are the ones that seem innocent. Take the redlining maps of 1930s America. The federal government drew lines around neighborhoods, marking some as safe, and others as dangerous, almost always along racial lines. Banks refused loans to people living in the red zones. Decades later, those maps still cast a shadow, shaping where people live, who gets rich, and who gets left behind. A simple line on a map became a sentence, to poverty, to segregation, to lost opportunity. And then there are the maps that never saw the light of day. Plans for empires that never were, or secret blueprints for invasions that failed. In the archives of London, you can find a map showing Nazi Germany's dreams for a post-war Britain, with English cities renamed in German and entire regions handed to collaborators. In the Vatican, ancient maps hide evidence of lost Templar voyages, rumored lands beyond the edges of the known world. Some of these maps are pure myth. Others hint at secrets still waiting to be uncovered. So, what are we left with? A world shaped not just by armies and rulers, but by the quiet, cunning hands of mapmakers, some forgotten, some infamous, all wielding more power than most kings ever dreamed. The next time you look at a map, remember, you're not just seeing geography. You're seeing centuries of ambition, deception, and dreams, layered one atop another, like ink on ancient parchment. Maps have lied to us for as long as we've had them. Sometimes those lies sparked wars, toppled empires, or erased whole peoples from memory. But sometimes those same lies inspired explorers to cross oceans, to search for lost cities, to imagine new worlds. The map is never the territory, but it always tells a story, about who we are, what we fear, and what we hope to find. So, what hidden histories are waiting in the maps you thought you knew? What secrets still sleep in the lines, waiting to be discovered? And who really gets to decide what the world looks like? If you want to keep exploring the untold stories and forgotten truths that shaped our world, make sure you subscribe to History Owl. Hit that bell so you never miss a journey into the past. And next time you unfold a map, ask yourself, whose story is it really telling? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.